Hello and welcome to SRIRAM's IAS. You are watching the economy series in which we are decoding economics from basics to advanced. The objective of this series is to break down the complex topics and simplify them and to deliver them to all the students who are confused yet curious about economics preparation. Now, this subject in itself comes with a lot of challenges also. That is simply that the subject itself is not consolidated at a particular platform. Now here we are bringing the small topics, explaining them within short time period and also making it very simple for the students. Today our topic will be basically the market and its control, the type of economies which are there and how the market actually plays its part in that economy. Say for example, if I tell you that whatever is there in the market is basically, in the first video we talked about the two fundamental pillars of economy. In that video I told you that there are only two people, one is producer, another is consumer. And in this scenario we also discussed that after the production and consumption is there is a circular flow of money which is going from producer to consumer and then from consumer to producer, through wages and labor, through goods and services that consumers are purchasing and the labor which these households are supplying to the firms. Now, if we talk about this economy, the single model of economy, in that there is only one producer and one consumer who are interacting with each other. There is no state control. But in the larger picture, we discussed the 5 model sector of economy in the last video. In that we discussed that how actually is money flowing in all the 5 sectors, whether it is government, whether it is foreign sector, whether it is financial institutions, households and firms. How the money is actually transferring and there are leakages and injections into the economy from financial sector, from foreign sector and from the banks also and from the government also. Now, once we set the paradigm of this, we need to understand that how this circular flow of economy is being controlled either by firms or by the government. Why so? Because government has a particular objective. That objective is simple. One is the growth, another is the equality, another is equal distribution of resources. Now, what to pursue for equal distribution of resources? What government should pursue for that? Government should either let the firms do their own work, but we know that firms will work for only profit, so they will monopolize the market. Therefore, government will do what? It will start regulating the firms. But if government starts regulating the firms, then government will come into the zone of mixed economies. Again, if government do not want private sector at all because it wants complete equal distribution of wealth, then it will control all the resources in the economy. Once it controls all the resources in the economy, it will turn out into a socialist model. Then, if the government thinks that, okay, the government should not also rule because if government controls all the resources, it will turn out into a class of politicians having all the funds and having all the wealth. Or if it leaves the market unregulated, it will lead to a system where all the wealth will be concentrated in the capitalist hands. Therefore, in these two diverge, I can say poles, there is one more pole which you need to understand, that if we leave all the resources with households only, if we leave all the resources with all the people, whosoever can take how much ever what they want, then this will create another extreme pole of the economy. That is simple, that all of these resources will be now with the people only. This will take us to the communist model of economy. Now, once we understand the 3 poles, there is a center point of this. The center point is very simple. That is a model where government, firms and households, all the 3 are working in tandem. That is the mixed economic model. Now, we will understand all of this in this video. Let's begin the video. The first thing which I want to highlight is that there is a particular form in the description section which you can fill and get connected to us, and we will help you through our mentors to strategize your preparation. After that, there are 2 QR codes. If you scan these two, you will find out that you will go to Telegram, you will be redirected to Telegram and you can join that channel. You will get all the PDFs, you will get all the MCQs, mains ke test series and whatnot, daily, monthly and weekly current affairs also. If you scan this QR code, you will be taken or redirected to a Google form for mentorship. Now, one more thing that I will start this economic system with, that is to understand, to make you understand that we need to learn a story where the economic system formed, a story which Marx calls the base structure of a society, the base structure of the state. Karl Marx says that the economic system forms the basic structure or the base structure of the state. What does that mean? That the economic structure, if it is either in the hands of public or in the hands of firms or in the hands of government, if it is in these three hands, either of them will rule the state, will control the state or will be the state itself. If it is the capitalist model, then the state will be run by that ideology of capitalism. If this model is communist in nature, if all the resources are there with the proletariat class, then the state will itself be controlled by that proletariat class. Because in the ancient society we saw, before industrial era, before the industrial revolution, we also started this thing that, and we explored that the king was actually controlled by two powers. One was the feudal lord, another was the church. Why? Because the power of divinity and the power of economics was held by these two people. And that made the state, and that made all the control on the state. Now, once we set the paradigm of this, we need to understand that in this market, we have to produce, the firms have to produce, government has to produce. And if there is no production, economy will not grow. Growth and production goes hand in hand. They are synonymous to each other in economy. But for whom to produce? And who will produce? Are there firms free enough to produce? Are there households free enough to produce? Or are there farmers whose products are getting enough value in the market? That is the question which we need to understand. Now, let's understand what are the economic systems. The economic systems are basically simple entire ecosystems where economies work, where the market actually works. Where the market works. Basic definition, that is, it determines the fundamental systems that how societies manage the resources. That is what I said, very simple. Again, why to manage the resources? Because we need production and we need to regulate this thing, that who will produce and for whom he will produce, and where should they produce, how should they produce. That is why there we will see that government starts regulating the market. Understood? Now, the three main types of this regulation or the three main types of this economy which we discussed already, capitalist, socialist and communist, which I gave you a brief background about. Now let's understand what is the capitalist form of the economy. What is the capitalism or what is the capitalist form of the economy? Here we have complete private ownership of all the resources, which I said earlier also that if we leave the market to all those people who are firms or who want to produce, if we leave this market to this class of group, then they will be engulfing or they will be having control over all the resources. Once they have control over all the resources, they will form a particular class of capitalists. Now this class will be intended to maximize their profit. And in order to do that, they will just generate and accumulate all the wealth. There will be diverse, or I can say there will be divergence in inequality. There will be huge inequality in the market. Now, understand this. This means that all the means of production or all the factors of production, all the resources for production will be now with private ownership. Economic decisions are primarily guided by the forces of supply and demand in the market. That is very simple. This capitalist will decide or will produce only those things which are high in demand, and they will produce only those things where they can fetch highest price, because their objective is higher profit. So the sectors which are less attractive, like healthcare, education, which should be otherwise provided free, those sectors like infrastructure, which give you the revenues or which make the return, out of which the return comes late, these sectors will be less attractive to these capitalists if not incentivized by the government. So therefore they will be attracted to those sectors only where they will fetch higher price, where there is higher demand, which is mostly in the consumer goods. So therefore they will be focused on that. Again, the individuals and businesses own the resources. Prices and production is set by market forces. That is simple, that whatever is demanded in the market will be supplied in the market. That means they will work in the equilibrium, and this equilibrium or market equilibrium we have already read in this series only. मैंने आपको ये समझाया है कि market forces काम कैसे करते हैं, how the quantity demanded and the quantity supplied will balance out itself at a particular point, which will be the point of equilibrium, and this will be achieved by the invisible forces, also known as invisible hand, in the market. Now once we understand this, that is the base behind this price and production. Government intervention is minimal. Government will force only in terms of enforcement of contracts and protecting the property rights. Property rights means intellectual rights or the patents. Government will help in ensuring that. अगर आप देखें तो United States, UK and Japan are such countries, but Japan also is a mixed economy largely, and at present we have majority of the economies in mixed class. That majority of the economies are now mixed economies, because state intervention also is there, because after 2008 crisis there was a recall of the state. That state का role ज़रूरी है economy में. After 2008 crisis, when the capitalist economy failed, when it was questioned that the capitalist model or the capitalist ideology has failed, and then state was recalled in action. Now after that we need to understand the socialist and the communist model of economies. बहुत simple सी बात है. It will also start with the ownership of resources. The ownership of resources in socialist model is with government. Key industries will be there with government. Yes, there will be central level planning, that is planned economy or command economy we call it. The central level planning will be there, that they will decide what to produce and what not to produce. Should we focus on capital goods or should we focus on consumer goods? Should we focus on basic industry or should we focus on advanced technologies? That is what will be decided by central government. And this will be also, you will be also amazed with this thing, that till 1991 we also followed this planned economy structure, in which the government was setting the 5-year plans and the agenda, that what we are going to produce for the future. Now understood, some private enterprises are allowed, but yes, government's entire focus will be on social welfare and reducing the inequality. Again, communist economies, there will be total state control on all the means of production and distribution. But yes, the state itself will be controlled by the proletariat class. That is what the communist stands for. They basically believe in a classless society. Classless society means that there should be no one having enough resources to create a separate class in the state, to control the power in the state. Now you might be also amazed by knowing this thing, that the power in this world, अगर हम power की बात करें तो it's only in some of the things, like if you have bureaucratic power, if you have political power, you have religious power, you have economic power. Like very basic understanding, अगर आपके पास पैसा है तो you control resources, you have economic power. अगर आपके पास कुछ नहीं है, you are a politician, you have that political power and political legitimacy. If you are a bureaucrat, you are being given the power, आपके ऊपर power delegate होके आता है, you have the delegated power, you have constitutional power, constitution gives you the powers and then you exercise them. Further, अगर आप इस power को समझें, then you will be able to understand this thing, why control of market is necessary. Because market provides power to these people who are there in the market. whether they have the power to set the prices, to declare the prices, to control the market forces, to change the structure of market, that is, to change the perception for demand and supply. If they change this perception of demand and supply, they will lead, or they will path out or chart out the way forward for the economy to grow. Understood? That is how I'll just explain it to you. Very simple example. 1992 scam 1992 आप सबने देखी होगी. Harshad Mehta had that market power. He had that control in the market. And once he used that control, once he used his influence to understand his economic power, his market power, once he understood it, he created that much large network. People who have economic power, they regulate the crude oil prices of entire world, like OPEC, Organization of Petroleum and Exporting Countries. This group basically exports petrol, exports crude oil to the rest of the world. They control, this is the cartel system which controls the production, which says that at what price will be crude oil sell in the market. Now, once we understand that this market control is necessary, this market control is being held by a specific class. That is why these two models and capitalist model comes in picture, that which model should be adopted by a country. Which model should be adopted by a country. And then comes the mixed economies. Mixed economies talk about growth. Mixed economies talk about pragmatism. They talk about optimism. That government will help the businesses to flourish, and government will also help to lay down or to path out or chart out the basic environment for businesses to grow. क्या करेगी government? Government will help businesses to grow. Government will provide them all the facilities, the single window systems for ease of doing businesses. Simple सा example दूंगा. In order to set up a basic micro, small and medium enterprise, MSME, कोई भी MSME अगर आपको setup करनी है, there are multiple approvals which are to be required from different departments. Like there are different departments for food regulation, for safety regulation, for water pollution, for other industrial wastes which will be coming out, air pollution का certificate चाहिए आपको, NOC हर एक department से चाहिए, बैंक से NOC चाहिए, आपको land को register कराने के लिए 10 दफ्तर जाना पड़ता है. This all scenario is there. Now, in order to ease this out, government will do what? They will provide single window platforms, where you can go and register all of your needs, where there will be one single office which will be giving you all the facilities. Suppose that we are doing this in SEZ form. Special economic zones में ये चीज़ कराई जाती है. Now, once we understand this, that mixed economy provides both the things. What are these things? I told you. One, government provides you the market access, government facilitates the market, and then government regulates one more thing. That is, if there is any kind of volatility or there is any kind of inconvenience in the market, government regulates that also. Clear? Again, you need to remember that modern economies like US and China, these are, or you can say that not particularly mixed economies, but yes, you can say that US and China has a particular set of, I can say, market structure which is unique than these three models. Like in China, there is totally control of state, but yes, China has market reforms also. There is state dominance, state regulates everything, but it provided market reforms also and let the businesses flourish also. Manufacturing sector वहाँ पे बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ गया. ठीक है. Modern economies में अगर आप देखें, US, as I said, is more inclined towards capitalism, not towards mixed economy, less towards mixed economy. वहीं पे अगर आपको मैं अच्छे से सबसे best example दूं, तो that is India. India is one of the best examples of mixed economy because we adopted it in 1991. We adopted it that this is the economic model which we need. Okay? In which we tend to understand and achieve both the efficiency of the market and innovation in the market. We tend to achieve social welfare also and market growth also. And India has been good at it. India has grown a lot. India grew a lot. And if you talk about the growth of India, it has been that we were able to double our GDP from 2000 to 2024. We have been able to claim ourselves as fourth largest economy of the world. We now are, I can say, the most equal country in the world. We have decreased our inequality to a large extent according to the Gini index. Now there are such developmental scenarios which we have seen. One more thing which we need to understand is that there is efficiency, there is free market, government intervention is there, and government regulates the market. Government facilitates the market. Private services, public services are provided by government like infrastructure, education, defense, this is provided by government, and rest of the things like taxation में बहुत कमी लाई है. अभी भी इनकम टैक्स बिल आया है 2025 का, उसको भी डिस्कस करेंगे हम इन्हीं सेशंस में. Plus social programs are also there. Mixed economy provides a dynamic balance. Now once we understood these three economic models, we also need to understand the market types. What are the types of the market which are there and how market actually works? What do we mean by perfect competition? What do we mean by the monopolistic competition? What do we mean by the monopoly and oligopoly? Why so? Because as I said, the market holds power. The ones who control market hold market power. And if they have market power, they will influence this market power through prices, and they will accumulate the resources with themselves. They will earn more and then accumulate everything. So now let's understand market systems and economic systems. Simple. Market is a fundamental structure that shapes our global economy, and diverse ways markets operate in the market. There are people who operate in the market through diverse ways. Like I'll say simply, a firm like Google, it monopolizes itself and was recently fined also because it has created a monopoly through its tie-ups in the Android features. ठीक है, Google Chrome आता है Android के लिए और वो by default ही आता है. आप देखो वो डिलीट ही नहीं हो पाता है. YouTube का ऐप वैसा ही है, WhatsApp वैसा ही है. इन दोज नहीं, WhatsApp तो डिलीट हो जाता है, but some of the apps come by default, which are third party apps, but come by default in your mobile phones and cannot be deleted. That was one feature, and that was one thing which came in competition. There are people who mislead you, providing I can say misleading information through advertisements, that अगर आपने ये दवाई खा ली तो आपके साथ चमत्कार हो जाएगा. ठीक है, अगर ऐसी चीजें आपको आ रही है सामने तो why don't you question this, that who is responsible for this? What is government doing? Why don't government control this? That is why Competition Commission of India comes up and says that you cannot do this. You cannot just monopolize the market. You cannot just reduce the competition in the market. That is what the Competition Commission of India has to do. And that is why UPSC asked a question in mains last year 2024 on Competition Commission of India. Understood that how Competition Commission of India actually regulates all of these and how it ensures a balance in the market. Now, in order to ensure this balance and understand this market power more, we will be needing and we will ensure that we understand the perfect competition, monopolistic competition, monopoly and oligopoly properly. Once we understand this, then we will summarize the whole discussion which we did. Now, what is the market structure? As I already told you, it's a landscape where there are firms which produce goods, and these goods, now these firms have either easy or they are at ease to produce, or there are difficulties in the market to produce. If there are difficulties in the market to produce, there will be less production. If there is less production, there will be less growth. If you provide easy market access, everyone can produce and there will be more growth. Now, in order to understand market and in order to understand the pricing behavior, consumer choice and the overall business strategies, you need to understand four key different parameters. One is how many number of sellers are there? कितने लोग हैं जो ये प्रोडक्ट बनाते हैं? How many products are there? एक सिंगल प्रोडक्ट जिसके बहुत सारे टाइप्स हैं, जैसे एक सिंगल मैंगो जूस. अगर आप एक सिंगल मैंगो जूस लेने जाएंगे बाहर तो आपके दिमाग में दो तीन चीज़ें आएंगी. मैंगो वो मज़ा आ जाएगा, आपको स्लाइस आ जाएगा, आपको फ्रूटी आ जाएगा शायद आपके दिमाग में. दो तीन और ब्रांड्स जो आपने सुने होंगे, आप जाएंगे तुरंत वो एक उठा के पी जाएंगे. द प्रॉब्लम विद दिस इज दैट द जूस itself is similar. There is minor differentiation either in color or in taste or in packaging. minor differentiation, and that is what differentiates the product. That is what shapes the market behavior of this. And ये चीजें क्यों होती है? Why is it there? Because they want to make their product more attractive. They want more sellers of their product so that they can gain more. One more thing is the easy entry into the market. If you are provided entry into the market, then only you will be able to produce in the market. Then only you will be able to sell in the market. One more thing is market power, which I already discussed. Understand the perfect competition in the market. As I told you that अगर हर एक प्रोडक्ट एक जैसा होता, अगर एक सिंगल प्लास्टिक की बोतल विदाउट पैकेजिंग हर एक बोतल में मैंगो जूस होता, तो क्या आपको ये पता चलता कि आपने कौन सी वाली कंपनी का मार्केट में वो मैंगो जूस पिया? बट वहीं पे अगर आप मार्केट में गए, आपने मैंगोज लेनी है, एंड एवरी मैंगो इज ऑफ सेम क्वालिटी, सेम टेस्ट, सेम कलर. Now, whichever mango you pick, you won't be, there won't be any price differentiation in it. एक आम जो ज़्यादा पीला है, एक आम जो कम पीला है, और एक आम जो कि बहुत ही छोटा है और जो बहुत ही ड्राई सा है, आपको समझ में आ जाएगा ये 10 रुपये का होगा, ये 20 का होगा और ये 30 का होगा. Why is there this price differentiation? Again, to differentiate the product. If the product is differentiated, price will be also differentiated. But in terms of agriculture, you might have seen this thing. अगर आप मार्केट में जाएंगे, आपको भिंडी लेनी है, आपको सब्जी लेनी है, पालक लेना है, मशरूम लेना है, everywhere you go, all the stalls, everywhere you go in a mandi, there will be each one selling at the similar price. माइनर डिफरेंशिएशन होगा प्राइस में, दैट इज 5 रुपया या 10 रुपया ऊपर नीचे होगा, ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा, उससे ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं होगा. ठीक है, या 2 रुपये ज़्यादा होगा या 1 रुपया ज़्यादा होगा, बस उससे ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं होगा. क्यों? बिकॉज ऑल द प्रोडक्ट्स विच आर प्रोड्यूस्ड इन एग्रीकल्चर दे आर ऑफ सिमिलर नेचर. रादर अगर आप वही चीज़ उठ के ब्लिंकिट से ऑर्डर करोगे, अगर आप वही चीज़ उठ के किसी बड़े से ब्रांड या सुपरमार्केट में जाओगे लेने के लिए, तो वही चीज़ आपको डबल या ट्रिपल रेट पे मिल जाएगी. वाई? बिकॉज दे हैव दैट पैकेजिंग ऑन दैट, दे विल प्रिजर्व इट, दे विल स्टोर इट, कोल्ड स्टोरेज होगा, उसकी जो चेन होगी वो प्रॉपर तरीके से आएगा, वो फ्रेश होगा, और वो फ्रेश इसलिए होगा क्योंकि उसको स्टोर किया जाएगा उस तरीके से. नाउ दैट विल डिफरेंशिएट द प्रोडक्ट. बट इन अ परफेक्ट कॉम्पिटिशन, if you want to observe this perfect competition, you can just do one thing: go to a mandi and you will see all the agricultural products will be sold at the similar rates. Why so? क्योंकि ज़्यादा डिफरेंशिएशन नहीं है प्रोडक्ट में. हर एक इंसान घर पे बैठ के खेती कर सकता है, चाहे वो इंडोर कर ले, आउटडोर कर ले. उसके पास ज़मीन है वो तब भी कर सकता है, ज़मीन नहीं है तब भी कर सकता है. मार्केट से 2-4 बीज ही तो लाने हैं और स्टार्ट कर देना है. Therefore, there is free entry and free exit from the market. No one ever will question a farmer that why did you stop the farming. No one ever will question the farmer कि आप इस साल आपका धान कहाँ है, इस साल आपने मैंगो क्यों नहीं प्रोड्यूस किया, इस साल आपके खेत से ऑरेंज क्यों नहीं आए. There is easy access to enter and exit from the market. There is easy availability of resources and every product is of homogeneous nature, which makes this market totally competitive in nature. कि आप जाओ और आपको वहाँ पे बस वही करना है कि आप जितना प्राइस दोगे, आप जितना बार्गेन कर पाओगे, उतने बार्गेन पे आप प्रोडक्ट को उठा लोगे मंडी से. सिंपल सी बात है. प्राइस जो यहाँ पे है फार्मर सेट नहीं कर पाता, इसीलिए एग्रीकल्चर में इतनी ज़्यादा क्राइसिस है, इसीलिए उनकी इनकम जो है आज भी डबल नहीं हो पाती है. बट वहीं पे अगर आप देखो जो लोग इंडस्ट्री में इन्वेस्ट करते हैं उनकी इनकम 1 साल 2 साल के अंदर डबल ट्रिपल हो जाती है, क्योंकि वहाँ पे कंपटीशन अलग तरीके से काम कर रहा है. यहाँ पे कंपटीशन परफेक्ट कंपटीशन है, दैट इज द मेन रीजन. ठीक है. सो एग्रीकल्चर एंड ऑल ऑफ दिस, free entry, free exit, full information of market, small firms are there and they are identical in product also. We discussed this. Next comes the monopolistic competition. Monopolistic competition says that there are many firms, but the product is quite a bit similar. थोड़ा सा similar product है, but there are differentiated products. The products are differentiated. Sellers are many. There are many firms who are selling. Products are differentiated a bit, but the problem with this is that there are not too many firms. ठीक है, अंडरस्टैंड इट. मोनोपोलिस्टिक कंपटीशन का मतलब क्या है? बहुत ज़्यादा फर्म्स नहीं है. अगर बहुत ही ज़्यादा फर्म्स होगी तब परफेक्ट कंपटीशन बन जाएगा. बट यहाँ पे क्या है? कुछ गिने चुने फर्म्स है. मेनी फर्म्स आर देयर, बट दीज फर्म्स ऑफर सिमिलर प्रोडक्ट्स. ईच ट्राइज टू स्टैंड आउट एज आई कैन से दैट अगर आप किसी भी कॉफी शॉप पे जाओगे, आप क्लोथिंग ब्रांड पे जाओगे, आप क्लोथिंग ब्रांड जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल वैन ह्यूजन गए, लुई फिलिप्स गए, या रेड टेप चले गए, या किसी और ब्रांड आउटलेट पे चले गए, अरमानी एक्सचेंज पे चले गए, यू विल सी दैट हर एक की शर्ट एक जैसी होगी। बट द प्रॉब्लम विद दिस इज, जो बंदा जिस ब्रांड का लॉयल है वो बंदा उसी ब्रांड का कपड़ा पहनेगा, चाहे वो कपड़ा थोड़ा सा ऊंचा प्राइस पे भी हो या थोड़ा नीचे प्राइस पे भी हो। वो बंदा ब्रांड के नाम पे कपड़ा ले रहा है, वो बंदा ब्रांड के नाम का फॉलोवर है, वो उसी चीज के बेसिस पे अपनी चॉइसेस सेट कर रहा है। यहाँ पे जो फर्म्स है वो प्राइस सेट करती है, यहाँ पे जो फर्म्स है वो प्राइस सेट करती है। Firms are setting the price due to their unique offerings. They have unique offerings. There is the market entry and exit of the market is relatively easier, but yes, this provides for innovation also. There is loyalty, brand loyalty, and all other things which I already discussed. Now, one more thing is there, that is oligopoly. Oligopoly is particularly dominated by some firms. 2 से 4 firms होती है जहाँ पे जिन्होंने इस मार्केट को डोमिनेट करके रखा है। यहाँ पे ये जो फर्म्स हैं ना किसी को आने देती है ना किसी को बाहर जाने देती है, ठीक है। ये जो फर्म्स हैं अगर कोई नया प्लेयर आता भी है तो उसके साथ कुछ ऐसी प्रैक्टिसेस करते हैं, इस ट्रेड के अंदर कुछ ऐसी प्रैक्टिसेस करते हैं कि उसको स्टैंड आउट कर लेते हैं, उसको उस मार्केट में रहने नहीं देते हैं। एक पर्टिकुलर कार्टेल सिस्टम बना हुआ होता है, ये फर्म्स आपस में बात करते हैं, आपस में डिसाइड करते हैं, इंटरडिपेंडेंट होते हैं किस चीज़ को लेके, प्राइस को लेके, एक्सेस को लेके, बाकी सब चीज़ों को लेके। जैसे यहाँ पे एक एग्जांपल है एयरलाइंस का। अगर आप देखो, मैं आपको बताऊं कि आपको फ्लाइट का टिकट करना है तो आपके दिमाग में वही 2-4 ब्रांड्स आएंगे, स्पाइस जेट आएगा, विस्तारा आएगा, इंडिगो आएगा, अगर आप डोमेस्टिक लेवल पे बात करें। अगर मैं बोलूँ इंटरनेशनल जाना है तो आपको शायद दुबई एक्सप्रेस वे आएगा, अमेरिकन एक्सप्रेस वे आएगा, अमेरिकन एयरलाइंस आ जाएगा आपके दिमाग में। 2-4 एयरलाइंस होंगी जो आपके दिमाग में आ जाएंगी। बट वहीं पे अगर मैं आपको बोलूं मैंगो का जूस तो आपके दिमाग में बहुत सारे ब्रांड्स आ सकते हैं। अंडरस्टूड? दैट इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन ओलिगोपॉली एंड परफेक्ट कॉम्पिटिशन। नाउ दिस ओलिगोपॉली ऑल्सो हैज समथिंग विच इज वेरी मच क्रूशल, दैट इज देयर आर हाई बैरियर्स टू द एंट्री इन द मार्केट। क्या आप पहले एंटर ही नहीं कर पाओगे? और ये जो लोग होते हैं दे आर इंटरडिपेंडेंट इन टर्म्स ऑफ मेकिंग डिसीजंस, ठीक है। ज्यादा पीपीटी पे ध्यान नहीं देना है, ज्यादा ध्यान देना है समझने पे और सुनने पे, ठीक है। क्लियर यहां तक? मोनोपोली, व्हाट इज मोनोपोली? मोनोपोली इज देयर इज ओनली वन फर्म, देयर इज नो कॉम्पिटिशन एट ऑल। अंडरस्टूड इट? कोई कॉम्पिटिशन नहीं है। परफेक्ट कॉम्पिटिशन में एन नंबर ऑफ फर्म्स, सारी फर्म्स। मोनोपोलिस्टिक में बहुत कम फर्म्स, many मतलब some firms are there in monopolistic, but in oligopoly there are only few firms. But yes, in the monopoly there is only one firm which controls the market entirely. यही प्राइस सेट करेगा, इसके बायर्स बहुत सारे हैं बट इसका कोई कॉम्पिटिटर नहीं है। यहाँ पे कोई और प्रोड्यूस नहीं कर रहा है, ना कोई सप्लाई कर रहा है, ना कोई सर्विस दे रहा है। Neither is someone producing goods, nor is someone giving such services. It is the sole producer in the market, sole provider of the market. That is why they hold complete control over the market power. ठीक है, समझ में आ गया? जैसे local utility companies, if I talk about like electricity, water providers और defense के लिए, railways के लिए, atomic energy के लिए, you will see government has the monopoly. ठीक है? And there is one more thing, monopsony. Monopsony is basically when there is only one buyer and producers are different. मोनोपोली में क्या है, बहुत सारी फर्म्स है सिमिलर टाइप ऑफ गुड्स प्रोड्यूस करती है। जैसे डिफेंस के प्रोडक्ट्स, जैसे मैं बोलूं अगर बुलेट्स है, बुलेट्स बहुत सारी फैक्ट्रीज प्रोड्यूस करती है बट उसको परचेज कौन करेगा? ओनली गवर्नमेंट, बिकॉज नो वन एल्स नीड्स इट, नो वन एल्स विल हैव रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ इट। क्लियर यहां तक? नाउ वन मोर थिंग इज देयर, दैट इज वी विल जस्ट समराइज इट कि परफेक्ट कॉम्पिटिशन, मोनोपोलिस्टिक, ओलिगोपोली एंड मोनोपोली, इनमें डिफरेंसेस क्या क्या है, हमने क्या पढ़ा? नंबर ऑफ फर्म्स की बात करें तो परफेक्ट कंपटीशन में देयर आर मेनी फर्म्स, मोनोपोलिस्टिक में मेनी फर्म्स, ओलिगोपोली में देयर आर ओनली फ्यू फर्म्स एंड मोनोपोली में देयर इज ओनली वन फर्म। सिमिलरली प्रोडक्ट डिफरेंशिएशन की बात करें तो परफेक्ट कंपटीशन में देयर इज होमोजेनस प्रोडक्ट। इफ वी टॉक अबाउट मोनोपोलिस्टिक, प्रोडक्ट्स आर डिफरेंशिएटेड। If we talk about oligopoly, the similar products are there but they are differentiated. If we talk about monopoly, there is only one product which is unique in its nature. कोई और नहीं है यहाँ पे प्रोडक्ट प्रोवाइड करने वाला। इफ यू टॉक अबाउट एंट्री एंड एग्जिट, यहाँ पे टोटली फ्री है, फ्री एंट्री फ्री एग्जिट। दिस इज रिलेटिवली इजी, टोटली रेस्ट्रिक्टेड एंड ब्लॉक्ड, कंप्लीटली ब्लॉक्ड, कोई नहीं आ सकता है। प्राइस सेटिंग की बात करें जो कि एक्चुअल में मार्केट पावर प्रोवाइड करता है, परफेक्ट कंपटीशन में कोई प्राइस सेट नहीं करता है। आप गए, आपने बार्गेन किया, वहां पे फार्मर खड़ा हुआ है, आपने उसके साथ बार्गेन किया, जितना बार्गेन बैठा आपने प्राइस ले लिया, कोई प्राइस सेट नहीं कर रहा है। वहीं पे अगर आप देखो मोनोपोलिस्टिक कंपटीशन में देयर इज लिमिटेड प्राइस सेटिंग, यहां पे देयर इज लिमिटेड प्राइस सेटिंग बाय द फर्म्स। मोनोपोली में देयर इज सिग्निफिकेंट प्राइस सेटिंग बाय द फर्म्स इटसेल्फ, फर्म ही प्राइस सेट करेगी, वो जितना बोलेगी उतना ही प्राइस रहेगा और उसी प्राइस पे काम होगा। प्राइस टेकर्स, फार्मर्स और प्रोड्यूसर्स आर द प्राइस टेकर्स। यहां पे मोनोपोली में, मोनोपोलिस्टिक कंपटीशन में फर्म्स मेक द प्राइस, दे विल स्टार्ट मेकिंग द प्राइस। वो क्या बोलेंगे कि हमने ये चीज इतने पे बेचनी है, देन दे विल सी कंपटीशन कितना है, उसी हिसाब से प्राइस बनाएंगे। अगेन अगर आप देखो ओलिगोपॉली में दीज फर्म्स विल सेट द प्राइस, एयरलाइंस का जो प्राइस है वो एयरलाइंस ही सेट करेगी, वहां पे आप जाके कुछ नहीं कर सकते। इवन जितना उनका डिमांड बढ़ता है, जितना एयरलाइन का टिकट का डेट नजदीक आता है, उतनी प्राइस वो बढ़ा देते हैं। सेम चीज अभी वंदे भारत में भी चलती है और एयरलाइंस में भी यही चीज चलती है। बट व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट मोनोपोली, मोनोपोली फर्म्स आर द प्राइस मेकर्स बिकॉज दे विल मेक द प्राइस। अंडरस्टूड? यहां तक एडवर्टीजिंग की बात करें तो यहाँ पे बहुत कम एडवर्टीजमेंट होती है, यहाँ पे सब्सटैंशियल, मॉडरेट एंड वेरिएबल बिकॉज डिफरेंट टाइप्स। एग्जाम्पल्स वी हैव ऑलरेडी डिस्कस्ड, ऑल ऑफ दीज एग्जाम्पल्स हमने पहले ही डिस्कस कर ली है। आई विल जस्ट से कि आप इस टेबल को लास्ट में बना लो और इतना ही था आज का डिस्कशन। बाकी अगर आपको ये पीपीटी चाहिए तो ये सब आपको टेलीग्राम चैनल पे मिल जाएगा और आप हमसे जुड़ सकते हैं। जो मैंने पहले क्यूआर दिया था उसी क्यूआर के थ्रू आप मुझसे जुड़ सकते हैं। आपको अगर और कोई भी हेल्प चाहिए मेंटोरशिप से रिलेटेड, प्रिपरेशन से रिलेटेड, तो आप मुझसे कांटेक्ट कर सकते हैं सेम क्यूआर के थ्रू। ठीक है, विद दिस वी कंक्लूड टुडेज डिस्कशन। डेली श्रीराम्स IAS UPSC प्रेप यूट्यूब चैनल पे मैं आता हूं इंडियन एक्सप्रेस का डिस्कशन करने के लिए। इस डिस्कशन पे हम लोग हर वो इंपॉर्टेंट चीज़ डिस्कस करते हैं जो UPSC के लिए इंपॉर्टेंट है, चाहे वो 2025 का एग्जाम था, चाहे वो 2026 का एग्जाम है या वो 2027 का एग्जाम है। न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ना बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है एंड जो हमारा न्यूज़पेपर का डिस्कशन है वो बहुत ही ज़्यादा यूनिक है। सबसे पहले इसलिए क्योंकि बच्चे जुड़ते हैं लाइव, और लाइव जुड़ने के बाद बच्चे ये भी करते हैं यहाँ पे कि हम क्वेश्चन आंसर भी करते हैं लाइव सेशन में ही। UPSC का जो अभी मेंस का एग्जाम हुआ है उसके क्वेश्चंस भी डिस्कस कर रहे हैं उसी के साथ, और ये भी देखते हैं कि डेली न्यूज़पेपर से हमें कौन से ऐसे पॉइंट्स मिलते हैं जो हमें प्रीलिम्स और मेंस में काम आते हैं। विद दिस I leave you and I will conclude this video. Thank you for joining in here. Jai Hind.